Heroes rise, heroes fall. I see them on the front line, standing tall. They're risking life and limb to answer the call. But what they fighting for? Don't know, don't care, just along for the ride. But everyone must in. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna win inside.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the live broadcast of the Dungeon Dads.
What's happening?
What's up?
Hey.
What's up?
Oh, man, as always, I'm your DM, Tom Blaylock. You're listening to Dungeon Dads live and
Watching.
in person. Watching. We're coming to you from New York City, Los Angeles, California,
Down here.
Charlotte, North Carolina, and Austin,
Whoop, whoop.
Texas. I'm joined by John Watson, Tim Carr, and Sam Frake. What's up, fellas?
Greetings and
What
salutations,
is up?
everybody.
Good to be here.
My
Hello,
kids,
everyone.
My kids' minds are going to be blown because we're all YouTubers now.
Yeah,
Every child's dream.
Yes,
this
indeed.
this is the year to give me a potato and have it be something that is like worthwhile. It means because tubers.
Oh yes,
YouTubers.
yes. I
God
see.
damn it!
Excellent,
We're starting that way already.
excellent dad joke there.
Great intro.
Yeah, solid, real solid.
Wait, you're not fucking. You mean it, right?
Sam's
Who do
playing
we
ball
have
now.
here with us today, Tom?
No, I
He
already
did that
introduced you,
already.
Sam. Yeah,
Oh.
Sam, listen, use your ears for hearing. Guys, welcome to this experiment of having our faces in front of you. We just finished season 3,
Mm-hmm.
80 episodes, some 165 hours
Did you do the math?
of your lives lost with us. And we have
Spent,
some really
enjoyed.
we have some and we have some really terrific questions. Greenstein over here on the YouTube chat says that I promised him 89 episodes. Anthony, this thing, I don't know. I have a feeling we're gonna blow past 89.
Yeah.
I don't know how I can do it
What?
without I don't know.
Do you think it's going to take slightly longer than you originally planned, Tom?
I mean, I should know by now. I should know by now how this
How
shit
are you
goes.
going to know how many episodes it's going to take for this to finish? I mean, that's like an impossible task. I know you can predict how long you think we have to get from A to B to C to D, whatever, but like shenanigans.
Really basic plot points. I mean, in my mind, there's only like 2 plot points left in the whole campaign.
Okay.
And so that means like 20 episodes, like probably the way we go.
You just never know. You never know.
My God. Someone says you guys are so much better looking in my head. That's
Sorry
why
to
we were
break the
never going to
illusion.
do this.
Sorry to break the illusion, everybody.
Yeah, it's why
Sorry.
we were never
So
going
sorry.
to do this. Because
Back to
we're
audio
just
only.
like-
Just turn off our
Yeah.
video.
just schlumpy radio faces. So let's hit the some of the questions here that we have prepared.
Yeah, we
Is that
got some
okay,
in
fellas?
advance. Thanks for everybody for
Thank
submitting
you
Yeah,
them
we
early.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Question number 1, Tom, what are you drinking?
Oh, I am drinking kombucha, and it's some homemade kombucha with it's green tea and lavender.
The Zoom is messing with your.
Sorry.
It's all good.
It's lavender green tea with this kind of weird flower called a blue pea, and it's a Thai blue flower to make it turn this like beautiful purple color.
Nice.
It's delicious. And Spencer Udelson got me to pick up one of these. Oh, what is it called, Spencer? It's a thing to check the alcohol content, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
chilling with 2.2
Oh, there you go.
right here. So
There you go.
I'm buzzing hard.
Yeah, that's like, Tom, that's a little high, bro. That's a little high.
It's a little high.
You're
It's a
making me
little high.
nervous.
All
What
right,
questions? What other questions we
Real
got?
questions.
Who wants to kick
All
it
right,
off?
Sam, you gonna do it?
Wait, I've got the Discord ones.
All right, give us a
Yeah,
Discord
give
one.
us a Discord question. We can start with some patron questions. There
We'll
should be
start
some
with-
perks, right?
There you
We'll
go.
start
There you
with,
go.
This one should prompt a bit of chat. Would you guys ever consider playing a different TTRPG, such as Cyberpunk or Cthulhu, etc., for the podcast, either a campaign or one shot? Or do you consider Dungeon Dads to be strictly D&D?
I mean,
Um,
I feel like a one shot could be fun, but we've talked about this a little bit. I don't know if we did it in a bonus. I think part of the hesitation there is learning the entire new rule set in a way that would be satisfying for us. I mean, as you listeners know well, we like to know the rules and use them to our advantage when possible. So I'm definitely not against it. I think it would probably be one of those things where, if we had another group getaway session and we had time, like we could all cram on a plane and learn a new system. But I think we also enjoy the campaign we're in so much that it feels like a wrong to take away time from that, at
Yeah.
least for now.
Well, and I tend to think of the rule sets as more like languages. Like it's less important what the actual rule set is than that we all speak it.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's a tool for the storytelling, both with us and with the listeners. So,
it's
the
really-
particular rules, like because we play this as a show and because we're really focused on the narrative, it's less about enjoying the way a particular set of rules might evoke something than it is about making sure we all have a shared nomenclature and a shared facility with the rules, and then can use it in the service of the storytelling.
Yep.
Was that too serious a response for this?
No, I mean,
I think it's on point.
yeah, I mean, because I love. I mean, it's interesting because on the Discord, I think we've talked a little bit about the fun part of hearing us like still talk about the rules that are confusing to us, or like weird situational things that are kind of fun, because everyone does that at their tables, right? When they're playing with each other. I think it gets a little less fun for listeners if we ourselves do not do not know how to do the thing, right? So I kind of feel like I don't know, there's a level of expertise that we have here that is deep enough that what is it called, the meta narrative of us, like of the four human beings talking these things out, is
Playing a
kind of
game,
interesting, whereas it might
maybe
not
for like
be
a one shot or something where we're not as story focused, where we can work through some of the rules, like, hey, this would be an interesting thing for people who are into Shadowrun or whatever.
yeah.
Well, and
You
that's
can
what I
certainly
was going to say. Like,
something like that.
yeah, we work hard to make sure that we know these rules so well that it would be really funny probably to have a one shot of, the Dungeon Dad stumble through Cthulhu, or something like that,
right.
where we try to make a story by not knowing the rules.
Sorry, John, you've succumbed to space madness.
Right.
What? Wait, what now? What?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't see that
Gravina
anyway.
brings up Gravina's bringing up the stuff about the Pathfinder rule set. It is so where D&D was heading from 2 to 3 to 3.5, and then a little bit of 4 was a little bit more streamlined. But it's true, as you know, I've been playing, the Pathfinder games on computer and on the PlayStation, like little by little over the last 5 years. And I understand the mechanics of Pathfinder now. It's just like, I don't understand doing it at a table. Like it just doesn't make any sense. There's so many different, the touch attack versus a regular attack versus that I don't know. It's too much to seem fun. I want the rules for people who don't love D&D to kind of fade to the background a little bit. Yeah, so
All right.
I mean, I would
I see
consider it. I would
I see
consider
some
it,
over here. Somebody says a second Patreon for Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, listen, with us playing, the world is getting destroyed like every episode, right?
That's right.
That's right.
And yet again, we have failed to stop the rise of the Ancient One. Apocalypse ensues. Roll up new character.
Isn't that like a foregone conclusion in Call of Cthulhu? Like, you're not going to win the game. Just see who lasts the longest, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Or which is the one that goes insane rather than all the ones that die.
Right. Right.
Clearly, we know a lot about it.
It's bleak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's another good one. Do the two campaigns exist in the same period of time? If so, will there ever be a crossover episode of Every War Must End and Mountain City Mayhem?
Oh, this is very much a Tom Sam chat.
Yeah. We have talked a little bit about how much overlap there is. And I think we said this in one of the bonus episodes of just in terms of world building, whoever gets there first is in charge of it. Right. So you'll remember that Elspeth came to the Mountain City at some point. It made me realize that like I had to get some things set in stone about Elspeth because she plays
Otherwise,
a central role.
Claim 'em.
Yeah, she plays a central role in the narrative of Every War Must End. I think,
and that was also a thing we discussed about the Holdershek dwarves showing up.
yes, that's right.
Because anytime there's sort of a touch point of where this event happened in both campaigns or at a defined point in time, we've got to do a little sorting of, okay, so is that going to, that's going to work. Okay.
Yeah. Holdersheks are off the Red Cloud Mountain, like for instance, right now in our adventure. And if they are there, then it means that we have skipped time and we're beyond the events of Mountain City Mayhem. So I wouldn't do that to Sam because I don't want to make any of that stuff seem inevitable.
But the more of those, well, and that's the thing about having the characters, right? I think having those touch points can be fun. And how was I going to say this? Like the more you have, the more complicated it gets.
Yeah.
But when you do the actual characters crossing over, then you're like, oh, well, at some point, then the other campaign has to arrive at this point.
Right.
And then you get into this railroading territory that is really hard to avoid.
Yeah.
So.
That said, I mean, Ionis is definitely going to go back to Monterre.
I was about to say, I still got to retake the city.
And I think I see Gravina saying he wants James to go and fight Milo. I think that can be arranged.
Let's not forget.
That's not even a fight.
We have non-patron listeners out here too. So let's, on the chance that we get them to subscribe to the Patreon, or we eventually release Mountain City Mayhem to the public, let's avoid any spoilers for that campaign. I think it's safe to assume everybody's caught up on Every War Must End.
Yeah, spoilers for Every War Must End up to episode 80. Right?
Yeah.
In this
well, I mean, how about this for a spoiler? James,
I can't wait to hear what this is going to
be. I think James is, of the pantheon of voices that I have that I can pull out at any moment, I feel like James is the top.
Yeah.
Is like the tip top. So
listen, that question doesn't spoil anything. I just want to make sure we don't, step into any territory we shouldn't for people that won't.
The only spoiler I'll give is James should never meet Milo because it wouldn't be a fight. Milo would just destroy him.
That's some bullshit, right? John, come on. Like, I mean,
he's taunting his DM. Yeah.
I've seen
absolute destruction.
John, I don't need to remind you that I have seen your character sheet. And it's not as impressive as you make it seem.
To date, what's the biggest WTF moment for your character that Tom has thrown at you?
Oh.
Or Tom, you could say for Mountain City Mayhem, if you can avoid spoilers.
I mean,
mine's pretty easy. It's getting disintegrated.
Yeah, that was a pretty big WTF moment for sure. Filnir's, I think, was it episode 19, the Heinrich, like the revelation?
That was 17
or 17. Yeah,
17.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, that was rough.
Which part of that? Because there was a lot of revelation in that episode.
There was. I mean, I think there were a lot of hints ahead of time of things that, there's foreshadowing is the right word for it, not necessarily hints, but the revelation that it could have been different than Filnir
Yeah.
had seen it, I think sort of changed the way that he had to behave in the world a bit. And it's one of those things. I like to think that I, made a conscious effort to sort of drop his voice, but I think it was just me being too tired of speaking up here. And I was like, it's just,
that's true.
but like that's around where it happened. So, I'm just going to say it was part of his emotional journey, was just like,
His
Yeah.
balls dropped.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think I know what John's going to say for Ionis too, but I'm curious if I'm right.
Well, we'll see. The weird thing about Ionis is I feel like the entire campaign has been a giant WTF. Like even the episode 0, episode 0, all this stuff is just happening to him all the time. I'm like, my character doesn't pay attention to shit. But
I will say along those same lines, and you guys, who knows, maybe you'll get to see some of this now that we have video here. John also has the best WTF reactions in person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
He's very like, whenever something crazy happens, you can always look over at John's screen to see.
Yeah, I'm doing some kind of or just giving all kinds of crazy faces. And every now and then it comes out of my voice, but I'm so used to using my faces, sometimes it doesn't quite come out. But yeah, I think the toughest one for me was episode 35, when Percy was talking about all these things that I used to do, and then realizing that my mind's been messed with and I've been made to forget things, and then had the conversation with my mother and all that kind of stuff. Like that one. All the other moments have been kind of these things that I can kind of roll with. I'm like, whoa, and then I make my character, oh my god, what are you talking about? But that one just hits so hard that I was just kind of like, ugh.
That's exactly.
I didn't prep any of that either. I didn't prep any of that. That was like, I didn't have any. That was just like an offhanded comment that
the best.
It was Tim. Tim just asked that,
Yeah.
right? I was just like,
yeah. And then we were just vibing. We turned it into this big scene. It was pretty great. It's pretty great.
That's felt very special. That was a good one.
Along those same lines, how has playing your character affected your person in real life, and vice versa? How has your real life affected your role playing for your characters?
Who's asked that, by the way?
Harry Krishna.
Oh, that's Spencer.
So I'm just going to frame this a little bit with, because this is like something my wife and I used to talk about. It's sort of annoying when people are like, when I get drunk, you see the real me, because it's like, but like the part of you that considers the thoughts that just came into your head and decides which ones to say and which ones not to, that's also part of you. Like you are not every thought that jumps into your head. You are also the executive function that decides what would be nice or appropriate or funny to say.
Yes.
And so I think this question sort of reminded me of that, because I don't know that any of these characters, it's not like, oh, that's revealed something about me that I didn't know was there, but they allow you to express different parts of yourself that are sometimes, just a piece of your personality, or like, or a part that you keep in check more often. I mean, like playing Schnobik, I'll say, like, allows me to be a little bitch, like a lot more than I get to in real life, which is fun,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the only there's been no change to my actual character, but I have been surprised at how easy it is to be so snooty. Because I work really hard at trying to be the kind of person that is very much about what the group wants and what the group needs, and trying to make sure that everyone can kind of come to a general consensus about things, but to explore the selfish side, or explore the parts of me that don't like being outside or camping, or things like that, don't like being dirty. I mean, that all, and then it's just so easy to do when I put the voice on, that it's just fun to fall into something else, and it's surprising how quickly that happens. I think the parts of me that come out in Ionis are those things where he's changed. He's not as focused on being snooty. And so those times where he's like, all right, well, everyone, let's just talk about it and let's figure out what we're going to do next. And I've got to stand tall for the community. Like those are more me than anything else.
I'm not sure if anyone asked this straight out. Oh, sorry, you go first.
Oh no, I was gonna say, do you find and this is, Tim hasn't answered this question yet, but I want him to as well. But do you find that you can be more your like normal self because you get to play around with these different personalities? Like in other words, like, I don't know, like if Darbin is really nice for me because I am such not a like, let's just kill them all and like ask questions later kind of person.
Yeah.
Like, but I do have those moments when I'm in meetings and I'm like, oh my God, like I can imagine like, this ending in some kind of like horrible catastrophe, like my imaginary world like takes over. And I do find that like when I'm doing this stuff with you guys, the imaginary world has a place.
Yeah.
It's got a place and time, and it's 8:30 p.m. on a Sunday night.
Yep.
and like I do find that I think I'm more present in a lot of my life. That's not really about like the character itself running into my daily life, but it does change my daily life.
Yeah, it gives you an outlet, right? I'm not a violence forward person.
Yeah.
And I think Filnir is also not, but clearly not shy about getting there if he wants to, right? And then obviously Tarbuck is just like, let's go fight. Let's just go crack some necks. For those of you that haven't heard Mountain City Mayhem, he's a battle master fighter and, is a dwarf that runs around with a giant sword or great sword and, literally just hacks at things nonstop.
But here is, I think, the common thread that runs through both of those characters that is very much a part of Tim's personality is like at a base level practical, right? Like this is the person who's going to, without emotion, do what is necessary to get the job done.
That's true.
And that is Tim is the master of all practical considerations, I think, when it comes to this show. Yeah.
It's, not to take all the credit, but the live stream that we're looking at was all just going like, all right, we got to do this. I'll figure it out. Like, I'll put together some graphics and figure out how OBS works and amidst all of the other stuff. And, we're here. So hopefully it's still working.
And much like Filnir, it was like, well, if that's what has to be done, then that's what we'll do.
Right. Exactly. If we said we're going to do it, we'll make it happen. We're dads. That's what we got to, you make some promises.
Yeah.
So I've got a question here, and then it has also, I have an add-on to it.
Okay.
So the question is, if you each got to pick a new PC for each other to play in a campaign, what would you pick and for whom?
Ooh.
But
who asked that question?
That was from Angus Mason 5.
All right.
On Discord. But I'm going to start off with an easier question. If you could reassign one existing character in our game to someone else, or to yourself, I should say, which other character of Dungeon Dads would you want to play?
That's so hard.
That is so
That's
hard.
a hard question. That's a very hard question.
Because there's an implication there. There's an implication there either that like you'd be able to play it better, or alternatively that like you'd have more fun than the character that you made.
Right.
I don't think that has to be the implication, because this is who else would you play if you didn't have your character,
right?
right?
Thing, but mainly it's a props thing to the other person for creating a character that would be fun to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, we've done some character covering in our game, our casual game, right? We'll have somebody who can't show up. So somebody like I've played Sam's Wizard. When we're in a dungeon, we've got, 7 players in that game. So it's a bigger group, and sometimes somebody can't make it and we don't want to cancel on everybody. So we just keep going and hand off a character. And so we play 2. I think having played the wizard there, I feel like Abel would probably be the one that I would go to if I was picking somebody else's. I don't know if I have the same instincts to play like Darbin, or Tom's characters, the way they're sort of like, think later, act first, just talk your way into trouble and then talk your way out of it kind of thing. Like that's not the way I play. So I think some of that comes into consideration as well.
Yeah, I would hand off my wizard to Sam. Sam is a wizard.
He is a wizard.
Yeah. Sam is pretty excellent at playing wizards, and I've been very impressed with it. So I would just easily just be like, here you go, you can take my wizard. But as far as playing somebody, I had said a long time ago that I would have played Schnobik as a fighter wizard, and that's what Sam decided to do.
Yeah, John was a little hot when that came down.
Yeah,
that got taken from me. So taken from me.
I also still laugh at John's Abel impression.
Yeah.
He's like, what are you doing down on the floor? I was on the floor one time.
That was the other thing that I was going to say. As far as characters go, I think Abel is the most unique character. He's one of the most unique characters I've heard in D&D, an old crotchety. Because if you're playing a character in a D&D campaign, you always want to play a badass, strong, super young person. And to play an old man that might not be so great in Constitution and who used to be awesome but is now like not as good as he used to be, but we'll remember. I'll remember it. Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
That I thought that was super unique. So,
well, and the concept that he was once a 20th level cleric, like that was the concept, is that he is like literally forgotten more than you'll ever know about fighting and like divine spells and that sort of thing.
But he
reminds me of that guy on Key and Peele, the one who Decker,
at the orgy?
Like, no. No, definitely not that one.
Oh
no, the guy who had retired, and then he was like, Decker, we need a recommendation. He's like, all right, you can. I'm coming back. He's like, no, not you, Decker. No, I'm coming back into it. I'm just as fast as I ever was.
We just want a recommendation, Decker. I think I would take Milo. I just think that's fun for those of you who aren't listening to Mountain City Mayhem. Bard, halfling, always trying to find the back line, even if there isn't one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talks a big game, and then has friends to back it up.
And then runs for cover.
Help me! Yeah, that's just a fun dynamic to play.
Yeah. I mean, just because I think, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings here, but I think I did think more because Tim got Filnir to me before anybody else had their characters to me. And so, I mean, I think season 3 is showing this. I think season 4 is going to really show this, that like some of the big arcs of the campaign are so tightly wound around Filnir. And this whole idea of like, I just couldn't figure out what a Hexblade Warlock really was. Like, I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, like not just like the player's handbook concept or the Xanathar's guide concept of the Hexblade, but also like, you go through and you're like, wait, he like kills someone and he gets this spirit, like he gets a ghost to follow him around and stuff. And so it was so important to me that I like figured out how all that shit could make sense together. And so much of the campaign was built around, unfortunately, like the stuff that I planned was built around the idea of Filnir's character. And so I think I've done more thinking about Filnir and how to.
I mean, I'm not complaining. I like to hang out on the side and make salad puns. So,
well, but then Abel, like, that was, Abel's big secret was going to be a way for me to just keep giving.
Well, and then Ionis ends up driving most of the plot.
Yeah.
I think it was really well balanced. And I read complaints a lot of, when you see Reddit or stuff, people are like, well, the Warlock doesn't have much flavor because DMs never take the whole patron issue seriously. And I was like, oh, you get a better DM then.
I mean, it's true. I feel like
But there is an element of the mechanics of that class also dictate story points. Like you have to incorporate that into the narrative.
yeah.
You know, in a way that you don't necessarily have to with other character classes.
Tom, do you know Liquid R in the chat? Do you know Elric of Melnibone? He
No.
Liquid R is pointing that out as the prototypical Hexblade Warlock. I'm not sure I'm familiar with that reference.
I don't know what that reference is.
He has a sword that drinks people's souls. It's good stuff. I recommend it.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. And meanwhile,
Is
Tom
it a
says
book?
yes to Butterpants.
Yeah, but Butterpants,
Simultaneously.
absolutely.
This is what happens in
How's
live
that even a
stream.
question?
That's it.
Yeah.
But why was
That's
John
a
not
shot.
asked? Is the question
That's a
that
shot
I
at.
have.
That's a shot at me. It's
Okay.
a shot at me.
Okay. So you must know Cameron McCrary over there. Or...
That guy plays on my he's in my group that I was playing with last night.
Okay.
And somebody was trying to do a sleight of hand check, and it was like a DC 10, and it rolled like a 9, and I was like, all right, I mean, I'll give it to you, you get it, but he wanted to steal some, I don't know why, but he wanted to steal some butter, stole it, but it kind of slipped out of the pack and went all in his pocket and like went down his pants. And
I mean, look,
That sounds like some of the best parties I've been to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. I think I was answering the wrong question then. That kind of butter pants is fine. The other kind of butter pants is what I thought you were talking about, and it's hell yes.
Right.
It's an absolutely. Yes.
Do we have some questions we want to entertain from other
sources?
Yeah.
other sources?
So Anthony Greenstein on Facebook, and he's also here. Hey, what's up, Ant? He asked, this is a weird one, and I don't know if it's for our characters or for us human beings. How many cards would you pull from the deck of many things?
I mean, depends on how bad that first one was, right?
I think don't
No,
you have to
you
announce?
have to decide before you pull any. You
have to
literally have
declare.
to, that's part of the way it works.
Yeah.
You have to decide how many cards you're going to pull, and you have to pull all of them one at a time and resolve each effect in order.
I can answer this for me. For Tom Blaylock.
I can
0.
answer for Tom Blaylock. Oh, really?
0. Tom Blaylock pulls 0.
I
I,
mean, there's
like my
some-
life a lot.
There's some terrible
no,
shit that comes out
yeah.
of that deck.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
you
Great
as an
stuff,
actual real life person.
As a real life person, 0
I was going
cards.
to answer for any character you have.
Oh.
The answer is, how many cards am I allowed to pull?
Exactly.
And I will pull that many.
That's right. Yeah.
exactly.
It's it's a good way to die in D&D.
Yeah, sure.
Like it's a very good way to die.
Or your
in
soul
It's a
just
good way to
gets-
make everybody die.
Yeah, or your soul just gets separated from your body and is like millions of miles away on another plane, and you never actually die until somebody restores your soul to your body, which, you know, if nobody cared, would never happen.
Yeah.
It sounds awful.
Oh, I'm
It's a
seeing
good
a
way
lot
to
of
ruin
questions.
a good way to really mess with a podcast too. Just to like,
Yeah.
put that in there,
Yeah.
and just like, let's see what can go wrong, and then how do you wrap your heads around this?
I don't. I'm just gonna say it straight up. I like chance, but every time I've done one of those roll on the magic table or do that kind of stuff, I haven't loved the results. Just full disclosure.
Wait. I can think of a
With
Mountain
full
City-
disclosure.
I can think of a Mountain City Mayhem roll.
Mountain
that-
City Mayhem,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. But in our campaign, like I was like, I'm hoping you guys get some fat loot, and you know, it was kind of a whimper. It was a little bit of a whimper this last roll.
Well,
We'll see.
There was a weird.
We'll see what people say.
There was a weird decision-making tree in that last one too.
There was.
You can have 3 rolls on the mediocre table,
I know.
Or 2
I know.
rolls
I
on
try
the
to
pretty good
I try to
table.
gamify
or 1 roll
everything.
on the really awesome table that also has some stuff that may not apply to your character.
Yeah. I am seeing a lot of questions about the goblin market, various forms
Yeah.
of it.
People want to know.
Like Adam is asking, what's the funniest moment for all of you, and why was it the goblin market in season 1?
Wait a second. Now,
Addo.
I feel like we've been pretty upfront about this on the Discord, but we haven't necessarily said it to the wider listening public about the status of the goblin market.
Do you want to say anything about it?
Well, do you want to say?
If I had like a
anything about it? I'm
soundboard
asking.
or like a thing, this would be like, do we put in like a special buzzer?
Is this
don't
the
know.
time? Can I say?
I think
You're
you
the
should.
DM,
I
buddy.
think
Go
we
ahead.
should
Yeah.
reward people for showing up to our first live stream.
Well,
Yeah, agreed.
so I do have a lot prepped, and I believe campaign 2 is the Goblin Market. And all the 3 guys are going to be playing goblins who are on various missions. And I do have I joked about this on the Discord about having a slide deck going over the organizational chart and
I mean,
history
you
of
said
the Goblin
it
Market.
was a joke, but it was true. You do.
It
have
was
that.
true. Like I literally do have a like I do have a slide deck.
Now, I wasn't clear that we all had to play goblins. I thought we could be hired mercenaries in the service of the Goblin Market.
So Sam, that I mean,
Okay.
we don't have to get too deep into this tonight, but the Goblin Market and a goblin is a person who works for the Goblin Market, not necessarily
Right,
a racial goblin.
Gotcha.
Now, having said that,
A human
there
who
are-
works for the Goblin Market is by
Is also a
definition
goblin.
Gotcha.
and in this world, there may not even be a race that is a goblin.
Mhm.
And the world that
So-
I'm working on.
I think there's some really interesting ideas for campaign 2. We are already thinking of campaign 2. I also really appreciate it though, just from like a Tom's Ultimate Revenge standpoint of like, oh, you guys want to skip the Goblin Market? Guess what? Next campaign, 100% Goblin
All
Market.
Goblin Market.
The entire
All
thing.
Goblin Market.
You cannot leave. Forced into the Goblin Markets. Awesome. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I love it.
Mhm.
Listen, man, I just like playing with all of you guys, so I'm
Yeah,
down for
me too.
whatever.
Whatever it is. That's right. That's right.
Gobble gobble.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I'm just. I mean, look, I'm down to like, even what like a group of 5 goblins together. That's oh my god, I just blanked on the word. The stall is
Uh-huh.
is basically like a platoon. A stall is, and then a course is like a very small group of them, and you guys will be in a course. And I'm very excited about it. I have a lot of big plans for the Goblin Market.
Episode 90.
Episode 92.
I mean, listen, if you're promising 89 is the end, you certainly got to think about what comes next sooner. But we're not gonna
Mhm.
be
No.
done at
89.
89.
We got a little bit of time.
I do think, I don't want to make anyone upset here, but I do think season 4 is the last season for Every War Must End. I think that is the truth. So we are moving toward it here. And I think, full disclosure, we have recorded an episode of season 4
2, haven't we?
and 2.
Yeah,
That's
2 of
right.
Two of them, yeah.
That's right.
Mhm.
We've recorded the first 2 episodes of season 4, and I gotta tell you, I think they're both bangers, and it reminds me of some of the faster moving, like, excellent moments in season 1 and 2 and 3. So I think the pace is just right for
What's your new shot, Tom? Call it. Just
I think it's like 97 or 98. I just, if I'm just honest with myself.
Don't put him on the spot, Tim.
Come on, I really
we got to. We're
What
on
do
live
you
stream. This is what we do.
Yeah.
If you're not going to do it now, in front of everybody,
so-
with his face on camera.
So I have a question that's going to pull us away from the show a little bit, but tell everybody a little bit more about us as people.
Ooh.
All right.
Okay.
All right. It's movie night. Do you binge watch A, Arnie movies, which I'm assuming is Arnold Schwarzenegger, B,
Arnie.
Westerns, C, early Jackie Chan movies, or D, Hallmark Channel rom-coms? Sam, go.
It's tough. I mean, listen, if you're talking about just your average relaxing night, don't want to think too hard, just want to enjoy yourself, and you're going to watch more than one in a row, you can't, it's hard to beat Arnold. Like I can recite all of Commando from memory. I can recite most of Predator. Like that 80s run is just The Running Man, Total Recall.
Yeah, I can't remember more
Hell
than
yeah.
like a dozen
Not
lines
even
in
the
Conan.
Terminator movies. Yeah, Conan, I could do that. Conan, that movie holds the fuck up. It's incredible.
Yeah.
But if you're just gonna sit down and enjoy like the splendor of 80s ridiculousness, action, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and like be like, oh, I get what this guy was about. Commando's the one, man. You watch Commando. It's incredible.
Tom,
Yeah.
go.
I mean, I think I'm going to surprise people. It really, again,
Hallmark.
context is everything. If I'm with my wife and I'm, you know, if I'm alone for the weekend. Okay. I'm alone for the weekend.
So no wife.
So yeah, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to answer that one. I'm like, you know, like pants are never even a part of the equation for this weekend when I'm going to binge, right? Like I'm just like
Okay.
walking around.
Okay.
I'm definitely binging completely inappropriate Westerns from the 60s. Like for sure. Now, that's not because these are my favorite movies. I do like rom-coms better than almost any other kind of movie. Like
But they're
Okay.
the movies you can't watch when anyone
I
else
can't
is
watch it. I'm
around.
alone. I can't watch it. I'm alone. Right? Like, oh God, what's the John Wayne? The
Searchers?
The Searchers. Did I talk to you about this already?
No, I knew exactly what you were gonna say.
The Searchers has one of my favorite scenes of all time, and it's like my NYU students, if they're watching this, I want to apologize to you for this being like one of my favorite scenes. It is after someone has
Don't spoil The Searchers now, because I'm just saying.
I mean, I mean, like, don't watch it. Like, if you're a good person, don't watch this movie. I mean, I can't tell you. Like, like, it's not a good movie for you. It's not good for your soul. It's not good for anything. But like, one of the guys has like unwittingly married the chief's daughter of this tribe that is like there, and it's like, it is a tremendous scene by the campfire when he realizes what has happened, that he has just been married. It's funny, but it's also like, it's awful. But like, I can't watch that with my girls, and I would definitely, that's how I would spend my weekend. 60s Westerns.
All right, Big Tim.
I mean, it'd probably be Arnie movies. Not gonna lie, just because there's so much variety in them. I mean, I've seen Kindergarten Cop way too many times. I know those aren't, you know, early Arnie movies, but just, you know, there's just so much nostalgia there. I didn't watch a whole lot of early Jackie Chan growing up. You know, I'd walk in, my dad would be watching Westerns, and they'd be like, yeah, okay, bye. And Hallmark Channel movies, just not my thing.
Yeah, I hear you.
Sub-Zero, now Plane Zero.
What about you, John?
Yeah, I'm no different. It was a close tie between Arnold and Jackie Chan, because I loved watching kung fu movies growing up as well. But when I was you know, preteen to the teenager, I was all about Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
just the era we grew
Yeah,
up in.
Terminator, Predator, Total Recall, Running Man. I was watching one of those almost every weekend. Like, if it was just because they were always on and they were always awesome. And so yeah, they were. Arnold Schwarzenegger was the man. I mean, I don't know what to say, but
Yes, Anthony, I think Batman and Robin does count as an Arnold movie.
it does count. I'd even watch that if it was on in the background.
The puns are absolutely terrible, but you know,
which makes it all the more fun. Even True Lies. True Lies was amazing.
that movie's good.
Listen, I saw Batman and Robin in the theater on a large handful of mushrooms, and I thought it was the greatest movie I'd ever seen in my life. I was like, these colors are incredible. I was
Very
just
bright.
feeling
It's
all
very
of
bright.
the emotions, you know, like Arnold at one point cries, and then the tear like freezes and then blows away like a blizzard off of his cheek. And I was like, man, I'm feeling that right now, you know. And then I went and I got an ice cream cone and I walked around the circle of the mall with all the old people for like 3 hours.
Oh my god. Oh
Thought
my
about
god.
just thought about what I'd been through, you know.
All right. Can I move us along?
Yeah.
You can move us
please.
along,
All right.
please.
Although wait, before you can move
Oh,
along,
okay. No, I can't.
I
Great.
did see True Lies on on Laserdisc. It was like four separate laser discs that you had to change out as you went. Yeah.
That's how they go.
Yeah.
I hope everybody knows what Laserdisc is. There are a few people watching that are a little
Gigantic,
younger than us.
double-sided. They're like LPs made of
Just-
DVD.
yeah.
Like vinyl.
Because that's
made
the
of
thing,
DVD.
though.
They're huge.
That's the thing, though. If you're like 6 years younger than us, you don't even know what we're talking about.
No, right.
Because those things
Yeah.
were in and out.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, good, because my horse is getting tired.
and and the original ones, the Sony ones that were like, it was like a $2,000 thing. One of my neighbors, a Marine officer, like bought one, and there was no discs for it. You couldn't get them anywhere, like when he bought it, but it came with a like, here's what the laser disc will one day be able to do. And it was like Tron, but like a
demo
little
disc.
better. It was like a little better than Tron, like a little bit, like the graphics are a little bit better. And I didn't know it at the time, but like, here are all these Marines, and I'm like 8, 9 years old. My mom comes over. They're all smoking weed. I didn't know what it was. And they're like sitting there and they're transfixed. And I'm just like, this is kind of stupid. And then it goes black and it says insert disc 2. And I'm like, oh, hell no. Like this technology is not going to work. It was so terrible.
The picture quality is better, which is why it needed more discs. They didn't compress
Yeah,
it as
no,
much.
I mean, I
That's-
get it.
Yeah.
I
The
get
pictures
it.
quality was real strong.
Yeah.
But
For standard definition.
yeah.
All right. I'm going to move us along now, if that's all right.
Okay.
Yep.
So Benjamin Aw in Facebook, it might be a short last name. I don't know. That might be the real last name. This is for Tom and Sam specifically. How do you decide on the level for NPCs or your big bad evil villains that you create character sheets for, and do you ever adjust the level to keep pace with the players?
People
So-
will want you to decide on a level. Never decide on a level.
Never decided on that.
I mean, if you're rolling up a character, though, don't you have to know that for the number of spell slots they should have? Like, I mean, I know you can obviously plus or minus it. You can fudge it a little bit as you go, turn the dials, so to speak.
I definitely use CR as like challenge rating as like a rough approximation, but CR is designed for a party of 4, and we deal with parties of 3, and who will just wipe the floor with anything of appropriate CR.
Yeah.
So it's really, you have to like almost double like the total CR of the encounter. Part of that is just because, you know, Tom accepted, we're playing sort of optimized characters, who work well together, and have some synergies and things. And you know, who have some crazy magic items and things like that. But the other thing is, we tend to, because of, you know, sort of story considerations, we run short adventuring days. Like it's very rare that you're going to have, you know, 4 combat encounters without a long rest, which those things are designed around, which also, you know, makes casters at a little bit of an advantage, I think, on our shows. But, you know, it's more fun to sort of go all out every fight. Which means you kind of have to like crank up the difficulty level on those guys.
Yeah.
Also, generally speaking, I will raise the damage and lower the hit points.
Yeah.
Aim for the glass cannon paradigm.
Yeah.
Because a 2-hour fight where you guys are chipping away at each other's health is not as exciting as, you know, oh, that guy just took a giant chunk out of your HP.
Right.
Okay, we've got to kill him next round.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Same.
The question for this a little bit, just to jump in, is like, would you do the same if the campaign was not a podcast?
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't. But so for me, I'm a little different from Sam, I think. And part of that is that I think Sam started DMing, and we all talk about this stuff to see like what works and what doesn't work. And like, I think John was doing this when he first started DMing also, is like, we were rolling up characters, we were like figuring out what was in rooms that like no one went into. Like we like, you know, it was like a chest. It was like chest D1. And it's like, sorry, you don't get chest D1 because you didn't go and find this like secret room or whatever. And then at some point I was like, oh my God, that's so much prep. And also, I mean, you know, the like if I want John's character to find a sword, like I want him to find it, and I'll reward him by giving it to him sooner rather than later, or you know, something like that. But like when they find a chest, like there's a good chance that they're going to find that particular sword in there. And the same thing is true with these characters. So I definitely I definitely have characters that I rolled up that we're still meeting. So Havis Corvair is an 18th level character. And I have had him rolled up since the end of season 1.
Wow.
Jesus of Waterdeep, like some similar version of him as early as like, when was the Battle of the Briar?
21.
21. So like I had like before the Battle of the Briar, I had him just in case like he was called in with Bezalith, right? Like I knew that was a possibility.
Well, here's another thing too, and I think Greenstein brought it up in the chat, which is talking about the action economy, right? And that because it's entirely audio, is not really conducive to having like 12 enemies in a combat encounter, right? So you end up having fewer, more powerful guys, but then it is really easy to get hosed by the action economy. No matter what you know, if you have one guy, no matter what the CR is, when you've got 3 players who each get to take a turn, a lot can happen.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say, even as players, like the mentality is completely different. Theater of the mind. You know, if we're sitting here and looking at a map that I've thrown down, and you guys have this whole map that you can look and discover, you know, like you can each have your own mindset on what place you're going to go. Whereas Theater of the Mind, the only map we have is what either Sam or Tom has described, and you know, unless we ask the right questions, we don't know that anything else exists. You know, is there a door in the back? Yes, there's a door in the back. Oh, now there's a door in the back. Okay, you know, the map just kind of recreates at that point. So it's also easier as players to just kind of focus on what's in front of us and you know, hook arm in arm and then just trudge forward with, you know, what's in front of us rather than thinking about exploring as much. It happens in Theater of the Mind, but when there's a map in front of you, it's like, I'm definitely going to check all this stuff out.
The one thing I will say, and this is like building NPC characters, is that I often just start by like dragging over the spells and abilities that I want them to be able to do. And then figuring out like what level of hit dice they have to be in order to get the spells and use them and things like that. So I usually start off with like, here's going to be a really interesting encounter, and making sure that a character is responsible for like his or her part of that encounter. And that might mean making one character that is, you know, high level, really specifically thinking back to the battle in the dam, where you've got the sort of main caster with 4 novitiates. They were all different. They all had different spells. And then I got really screwed up because I wanted to stick to it, like what I created with those guys. But like once I think it was Abel, like just targeted one, and I just chose them at random, and it was like the one that was going to do the big move that I had prepared. And you know, and it was just kind of like, I was like, oh fuck, like this is now 0 hit points. Like I don't have this spell now at hand. And I try my best to stick to those things. So like once I've already started, like, you know,
by the grace of Tempest, I'm a lucky son of a bitch.
yeah. You know, because that, like, I don't know. So I stick to it. But I'm willing to make them high level. I'm willing to make them really high level. And I saw from Liquid R something related to that, which is, you know, I guess that's a reference to Wrath of Khan, Have you ever considered doing a Kobayashi Maru, like a zero chance of success,
Maru?
a zero chance of success test kind of thing? Yeah,
I've got an answer for that,
yeah,
which is I would say there's no such thing as an unwinnable scenario, but I mean it differently than Captain Kirk means it.
yes,
I mean it as we have a different space of what we would consider winnable scenarios, right?
Mhm.
I've definitely, I mean, we just had one in MCM, no spoilers, where defeating the person in front of you via combat is not an option,
right,
that doesn't mean there aren't other scenarios that you could pursue that would be, you know, a win. But we have definitely had scenarios where this is not a winnable combat scenario,
right.
just winnable by other means. I mean, again, winnable in quotes. Yeah.
It's very frustrating, I think, for players if they think there's no way to survive, win, get something out of, like, you know, if it's just like we're here to die, I think that becomes less sort of fun for your players.
Well, and it makes you feel like your choices don't really matter. Right?
Your choices don't matter.
Always what you're trying to avoid with this.
Yeah, like the whole idea, I think, of these kinds of games is that, you know, you're making these narratives and you're doing it in like conjunction and cooperation with like your DM and your players, and like if someone already knows everything that's possible to happen, then it's sort of, I don't know, it doesn't feel right. I guess like for me, the way we play.
The main thing we try to preserve, I think both of us sort of have this in common, is making sure that the players have meaningful choices. That are going to either affect either, you know, the outcome of combat or the direction of the narrative. And as soon as you stop having those kinds of meaningful choices, then a big element of the storytelling, you know, the unique storytelling that we have here, gets taken out.
Well, Ehi's Gate, which is the puzzle episode where you were trying to get from the center of the world to back to Lake and Hearth, like that's one where I had just built a puzzle and you had to do the puzzle. You couldn't walk away from the puzzle, right? So that's about as far as to the like
Railroad,
you know, Kobayashi Maru that I can like think of going to. And then there was a way to get out though, but it was
but we had to go through the
you had to go through it. You had to go through it. Yeah. Let's see.
Let's hit us with one more.
I have
fun one. Let's do a fun one.
Okay, this is from Eamon. This is from Akshay's son. So he says, is there going to be a second campaign? That's unanswered. Yes, it's the Goblin Market for sure. Are Ionis and Filnir going to multi-class?
Doesn't seem like it. We've talked about it a little bit in the bonus. I don't know if Eamon listens to the bonus episodes. That was, you know, Filnir doesn't have stats to multi-class outside of anything that would also be a charisma class. So I think Sorcerer or Bard would really be the only options. I'm not sure Bard makes a whole lot of sense. I've toyed with the idea of going Sorcerer for the extra spell slots and meta magic, but I feel like it would take 3 levels to come online, and at this stage it might be, you know, that might be something I do like when I hit 17 for 18, 19, 20 if I get there and it feels right. But I'm very much a player that goes with like
Paladin.
What makes sense? Yeah, but I don't have the strength. What makes sense like in the campaign based on the story that's happened, right? Like I know Tom's min, but none of us are really min-maxing, I think, our characters in this. Because if I was, I'd be a Hexblade with Polearm Master and Great Weapon Master, and I'd be making a Halberd, and I would literally be crunching the numbers on how to make the combat more efficient. And I feel like it's less interesting because everybody can do that, and everybody does that if they've played games with that character.
Yeah, and with the wizards, you just don't want to miss out on spell progression. You know, you want to get to ninth level as fast as possible. In
well,
my
you
opinion.
don't.
I've
You don't
considered.
want to.
I definitely want. What are you talking about?
No, you don't. You don't want to miss out on spell progression.
I think in general, like I think wizard is great. If you have the stats, then it's cool to multi-class into fighter and some other things, but it's hard to get the stats. And wizard is best with artificer because they're both intelligence, and if you have a high enough dex, you could probably do fighter and go a couple levels. But I think
two levels of shepherd druid. You can talk to animals at will.
you got to have the wisdom.
At will.
You got to have
You
the
can
wisdom though.
Change
I don't
shapes.
have the wisdom.
All right. Well, look,
I
whatever.
don't have the wisdom.
But here's the thing. You also have to consider the kind of person who chooses to play a wizard and what they want to get out of this.
That's true.
Ultimately,
Yeah, that's
what
true.
you want are those ultimate godlike reality altering powers. That's what you.
Yeah.
That's why you play a wizard.
You
Yeah.
want to change the world,
You don't
Yeah.
play a wizard so you can swing a sword and wear medium armor.
right?
Well,
You play it
I
so you
mean-
can time stop. Yeah.
yeah.
That's yeah, and it's especially from the role play aspect. It's just hard to think of a wizard wanting to do anything else.
yeah.
You read the books, you study the magic, and that not only becomes what you do, but it also becomes the thing that people come to you for. And so it's hard to, role play wise, it's just hard to consider doing anything other than that. So, I had never truly, there was at one point I considered, I think after Abel died, I considered artificer, one level in artificer, and I can get some cleric like spells, and I could get, there were a number of spells that I could get right at level 1, but it's not worth it.
Not you.
Not me. It's
not you.
it's not Ionis. He's not, So There you
Oh
go.
man.
Hmm.
What is it, Tom?
I'm still sort of regretting the one level of nature cleric when I probably should have gone 2 levels of druid for Darbin. I just because I'm just thinking about it, I'm like, man, I hate having to cast speak with animals. Like, I know this is silly,
It's
but
not
like
too late.
I no, but
I love anytime Tom frets over Darbin's character progression.
oh,
Why, oh, why didn't I just take that extra level of druid? Yeah.
well, I don't know. I think he's a cool
I
character.
don't think any
I
of
mean,
us
he's
know.
one of the most fun I've played.
All
Let's
right.
see here.
We got another question, or should we make one? We have a couple of announcements. We got one.
Yeah, let's do
one-
the announcements.
We got one fun Kickstarter.
Oh, let's do
to
one
plug.
more.
Okay.
Well,
we'll do
So
some announcements.
we'll save the Kickstarter plug. We can save that for the end. And we have a special treat for all of you that can hang out to the end of this. We are going to do a reveal of our artwork for season 4, since that will be coming up. We're still figuring out exact release date. It will be in December. We'll put it that way for now. And then where'd it go? Shoot, hold on a second. Bear with me. Oh yeah, we now have an official dice partner. We got approached and we decided we liked the company. You may have seen their Elixir dice on Kickstarter with the liquid cores. The company is currently Metallic Dice Games, but they're rebranding starting probably Black Friday or December 1st, somewhere in there, coming sometime soon. It's going to be called Fan Roll Dice. We'll have a code for you guys to use. As listeners, you can get 10% off of dice purchases. There's also a free thing that they're going to include on the first 200 orders when they rebrand. So we'll make sure to announce that for you. It's a free Mega Castle dice. Don't have more information than that, but it'll be fanrolldice.com, and we'll have a code for you. And a
we can
reference
use
link
that code too.
in
right,
our show
Tim?
notes.
Yeah.
Yes, and we can use that code too. Yeah,
We're
will.
listeners too.
We are.
That's
We
right.
are.
That's right.
And patrons.
Well, and I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves with this, but the topic has been broached about Dungeon Dad's branded dice merch.
We can do it, but we have to order like 300 of them up front.
I know.
And then our
We'd have
shop
to-
right
we
now.
have
You
to
know-
do a
you guys-
co-op
You guys
style.
know we have merchandise. We're all rocking it right now on the YouTubes. We don't print that in advance. That is print on demand because none of us have time or a warehouse
Yeah.
to stash hundreds of T-shirts and stuff. So if it is something you want and we know we could do it, we'll figure out how to do it as we have done so far. But
Yeah.
you know, let's see what we can do in the meantime. So check them out as soon as you can. Fanrolldice.com. They got a lot of cool stuff and more stuff coming. And do we want to do another question?
Yeah. So we haven't asked any from Angus Mason yet, have we?
We did.
Oh, we did.
We did
Did we
one,
get
but
the?
that's okay.
Okay.
We got some
if
YouTube
you-
chat comments too. We could go to.
Well, let's
we're
do that.
live.
But I do have. This is interesting. This is related to the other systems. If you couldn't run a high fantasy setting, what other genre or universe would you pick for a campaign? I have a lot of answers for this, but I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Sorry if you can hear my kids screaming in the background in the other room.
I am an absolute sucker for Shadowrun.
Shadowrun.
Like, I like the cyber, I can do like straight cyberpunk, but something about the sort of the fantasy cyberpunk mix is an interesting itch to scratch.
Yeah. I would love. I've got a story banging around my head that is a Western, and it is sort of post Civil War, and a group of people who had organized for the Union in the South and are now being hunted as they try to make their way to Texas. And I think this would be a fantastic campaign. And I don't have a good Western system for this. But so like that's the genre. That's the genre and the story that I would love to do.
It sounds pretty heavy. I don't know if I'd have as many pun opportunities.
Oh, it would be great. It'd be very, very fun. Very fun and very funny. But sort of getting that sort of weird post-war, like before Reconstruction, everything is all messed up, but still having like vigilantes chasing you down. I think it's exciting. Anyway, that's the Western would be for me.
I don't know if I have an answer for this question, just because I do like high fantasy as much as I do.
Yeah, I mean, I love high fantasy too.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's the reason I played this game, is to
Right.
be in the high fantasy world. I would do like a, if they made this, or if I took a crack at creating something like this, but I would do like a modern superhero type of campaign, where you have all these high flying superheroes around and you're trying to just kind of work your way in and figure some things out. I'd probably play that. That'd be chaos, but it'd be a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah. Liquidar says I need to play Red Dead Redemption 2. I own it, and I bought it right when it came out, and then my PlayStation 4 crashed, and now I have a PlayStation 5, and I have never played it. I've never loaded it on the system. So I will.
Games where this is going to be like 80 hours.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Really tough. It's tough.
It's really tough. Yeah. I still want to see my kids, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I still like my family.
Yeah.
It's hard to carve out
hard to
those
make
hours.
the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kay Shaw just asked a question in the chat, and this is good. I can think of one for the DM side of things. Are there any books that you guys recommend that could be good for new D&D players that could help understand world building and character development? I mean, from the DM side of things, Sly Flourish's books, the Lazy Dungeon Master, Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, are great at sort of not giving yourself too much workload, like we were alluding to earlier, where Tom was talking about how he planned rooms in dungeons that we never got into, and just sort of how to optimize your planning to move things around and drop things in where it makes sense and not have everything be predefined. As a player, I don't know. I listened to a lot of Dungeons and Dragons podcasts to kind of get a sense of how the game worked and the character building, and I think it really comes down to who you play with. And the DM sort of helping you shepherd your ideas and flushing them out and that kind of stuff and just getting into it. But do you guys have a book that you recommend for that side of things?
I mean, this is not to be a DM, but to think about how to build world and how to see like some familiar world and turn it into the fantasy. I mean, I recommend this anytime anyone's asking me, but Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is by Susanna Clarke is one of the best novels that is high fantasy that I've ever read. And it's written like a history book of
Magical
Napoleonic England. And magic has disappeared from England for the last 400 or 500 years, and it has a long history of it. And it is just like, it's just coming back to life. It's a spark that's coming back.
Great adaptation of it. That, I mean, you lose a lot of what makes the book really special, but if you are anxious about dipping your toe into like a 900-page book, the mini series that they made for BBC was actually really good too.
It was good. It was good.
It's literally just skimming the surface of what.
Yes. Yeah. That was one of those books that like, I was just devouring the footnotes, and I didn't want to get back to, I was like, my God, I'm on page 600. Like, what am I going to do with myself? This book is almost ending.
Along the same lines, this is not a how-to book, but I really love the fantasy books of Joe Abercrombie. I guess the first one you would start
Blade
with
itself.
is The Blade itself.
Yeah, it's great.
And in a lot of ways, they read like D&D campaigns sometimes, where it's a party of characters who has to go do X, Y, or Z. But he comes at it from such an interesting angle, and it's just a really good example of, I think a lot of times with high fantasy stuff, it can all start to feel sort of samey, or you can fall into sort of the same tropes that everyone's familiar with. And this is one where you have somebody who is, writing something that ostensibly has the structure of a lot of these, same sort of tropey books, and does something very different with it. So just as sort of a good example of what can be done, or how you can stretch out. I also think, I mean, if I had one piece of advice to give to a DM, it would be think in structures, not in plots.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have a particular plot in mind, the characters are going to do something entirely opposite that derails the whole thing. So you just have to think of in relationships and structures, and certainly potential plot hooks. But I would say don't be married to a particular plot that you have in mind. One piece of advice for players is to be active.
Yep.
That it's really easy to fall into this reactive mode of, I'm going to wait for the next DM thing the DM says, and then I'm going to see how my character would react to whatever that thing is. But you can be proactive too, and think about what your character wants and what they would really be doing in the situation that you're in, and you can pursue that and not just react to necessarily what the DM is doing. And then you get that interplay back and forth with the DM that can really lead to some special stuff.
The last one that I'll say, sorry, John, you have one too.
I'll piggyback on Tim with the lazy DM stuff, that they're real easy to read, and they break things down rather than reading the entire DM's guide. They break down a lot of the basics on how to play the game. If you want to know more about characters interacting with each other and interacting with the world of D&D, and how you can kind of flesh out cool characters doing that, any book written by R.A. Salvatore is also awesome. All the Dritz de Warden books, you have the story about this one character, and he just kind of goes through and runs into all these there's very creative ways that he runs into these iconic characters that come from D&D, and then they get into battle, and the battles are written in the form of turns. They're written in certain paragraphs that have dots that kind of separate them. And it's like, this person is going in and they're fighting, and then all of a sudden the guy jumps up and attacks, and then it's the next paragraph. Now Caddy Bree pulled out her bow and she shot, but she was thinking this, and then next paragraph, then Wolfgar comes through with so it's just a really interesting, you have all this narrative, and then when they start fighting, time slows down just like it does in a D&D campaign, and it's just battle, turn. It's really interesting. So
And that
R.A.
was sort of your
Salvatore.
gateway drug, right, John?
That was my gateway drug. Yeah. So when we started playing the game, I knew a lot about the lore and about the world. I didn't know how to play the game, but I at least felt immersed in the world of D&D.
Yeah, John knew the spells, a lot of the mythology and the lore, and just
the sigils of the dwarven houses.
I mean, this is gonna sound. I don't know how this is gonna
Nerblin or
sound.
whatever. You were like, yeah, I got that.
Yeah. He's like, no, Snurf Nerblin.
It's Sverfneblin.
Sverfneblin. Yeah.
I don't know.
There's a book, really short. It's about theater. It's called 3 Uses of the Knife by David Mamet, and it is really excellent at just reminding you over and over and over again that every time people are talking to each other, every time action is happening, you have to know what the drama is. Like, you have to know what the question that's trying to be answered is going to be. And it also kind of reminds you that, like, having 2 people who want different things, like in a scene, is good. Having 3 people in a scene who all want different things is fucking magic. And like, I feel like some of the books that are just very specific about D&D, they cover that stuff. But like, if you're thinking like a playwright, then you really can create some really cool dramatic moments for your players, which I think is like what it's all about.
Yeah. I mean, clearly this is something we could talk about for a very long time. But I think you make a really good point there, which is you can learn more from, improv books and the worlds of acting and playwriting. There's a lot of lessons there that apply just as well to playing D&D, whether it's for a show or not. I think the biggest one that I took, and this is when we were starting the show, is that people confuse backstory for character.
Yeah.
That when you say, okay, what's this, who is this character? A lot of people's natural inclination is to describe their backstory rather than, what are they like when they meet a new person?
Yeah.
Are they gregarious and talkative? Are they quiet and standoffish? Are they, do they tend to overthink things? Things like that, that really impact a lot more how you're going to play that than that your parents were murdered by the local warlord when you're 5 and you're seeking revenge.
Yeah.
Right? That's a backstory, but that's not necessarily a character. And that's something I think a lot about.
Yeah.
When we were putting this together.
Yeah. That's good.
You guys want to play?
I think so. Well, let's
think it's time to play.
We got one more thing to talk about, which is if you're on the bonus episodes of Patreon, you've heard me mention this before. I mentioned Sly Flourish. I mentioned How Not to DM, which is a podcast where they talk to people about their DM experiences, mistakes they've made along the way. You can learn a lot from that. Actually, that might be a good resource as well for world building, and a lot of suggestions in there. Well, Derek from How Not to DM has paired up with a company called, of course, darn it, Fireball Forge. There it is. So Derek paired up with Fireball Forge, made a Kickstarter, and they essentially have created a one-shot on Kickstarter. It's very inexpensive to get into, but what they've done that makes it a little different is they've combined it with the idea of like what the Hot Ones does. So basically, you can improve your character's odds of success in-game with additions of hot sauce and spicy food on your actual table. So I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna roll this. I'm gonna roll this audio ad for it. You can hear it, and then hang around afterwards for a couple minutes, and we'll show you the artwork. But I guess this will be us saying toodaloo for now.
Yeah,
that's right. Thank you so much for coming.
We'll catch you on the next one. Thank you everybody for chiming in on the chat, for joining, watching us live. We'll put this out for everybody else tomorrow. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo, everybody.
Toodaloo, everybody.
Toodaloo.
Fireball Forge and How Not to DM proudly present their very first Kickstarter, Too Hot, One Shot. Can you survive the spicy gauntlet and emerge victorious? If you love hot food, action, and adventure, you'll love Too Hot, One Shot. Eat spicier and spicier food in real life to give your character a better chance of success in the game. Guaranteed to create amazing videos to send to family and friends or share online. Spice up your next home game night with fun new rules and an original 5e adventure, or snag the basic rules for any other TTRPG. There are also awesome tiers with VTT maps and tokens, your name in the thank you section, and even a custom t-shirt from Gemmed Firefly. Too Hot One Shot is currently fully funded and burning towards stretch goals now. Check out the episode notes for a link or search Too Hot One Shot on Kickstarter.
Gotta get those 5 subscribes. Gotta get those 5 subscribes. Gotta get those 5 subscribes. Chubada